The day that Anthony Davis came to Dallas and Luka Doncic went to the Lakers, and now AD is on the move again. Shams, what can you tell us?
Hannah, this is a trade deadline week stunner. Anthony Davis, the 10-time NBA All-Star, has been traded to the Washington Wizards. So the Wizards are acquiring a future Hall of Fame big man. The Mavericks are getting back some players, a couple of young players, but 2 first-round draft picks and 3 second-round picks. But let's look at AD going to the Wizards now. He joins Trae Young, who they just acquired, the multi-time All-Star, formerly the face of the franchise of the Hawks. But Alex Sarr, Keyshawn George, Trey Johnson, Bilal Coulibaly, Bub Carrington, they've been building the last few years, but clearly the deconstruction phase in Washington is over. They're turning the page after this season on being competitive around that young core that they developed, and now they have 2 anchors of that in Trae Young and Anthony Davis. You think about the pick-and-roll presence that AD and Trae Young will have together, and defensively, Alex Sarr and AD manning the middle. But clearly for the Mavericks, 1 year ago, they traded away Luka Doncic, the face of that franchise. No one ever thought he'd be traded. There was going to be a statue of him one day, but he got traded for AD. It just did not work out, a slew of injuries. But the Mavericks, by making this trade, they've essentially cut their losses here. They've cut ties here, and they're bringing in significant financial relief. They're getting out of the aprons. They're getting out of the tax. They're getting some draft flexibility that now all combines to allow them to properly build this team around Cooper Flagg. He's the face of this franchise, the face of this organization moving forward, and that's what they intend to do. And one more note, Hannah, on the Wizards. They made a few trades here. Bradley Beal and Kyle Kuzma the last few years. That has now turned into Trae Young, Anthony Davis, and 5 pick swaps.
Well, it's really exciting for Wizards fans. And then on the other side, you see Cooper Flagg, another 30-point game, is having as good a season offensively as any rookie that we've ever seen. Shams, I know you're not done, because just in the last couple of minutes, the Sixers and the Thunder cut a deal as well. Can you give us the details?
And Jared McCain, who was off to a Rookie of the Year start with the Sixers last year before his torn meniscus, he has been traded to the Oklahoma City Thunder, the reigning OKC Thunder, for 1 first-round pick, the Rockets pick this year, and 3 second-rounders. This move, clearly for the Sixers has a little something to do with figuring out that roster. You have Quentin Grimes. They have key decisions to make with Quentin Grimes this offseason. He's going to be an unrestricted free agent. They want to try to keep him, but getting under and out of the tax, they've got a glut of guards. And by doing this, Jared McCain moves on to the Oklahoma City Thunder.
Wow, so that's what happens with the defending champs. Meanwhile, the Sixers, I know Joel Embiid was out again last night, but a resurgent Embiid, that great backcourt, we'll see what they are able to do. And we are still, amidst all of this, on Giannis Antetokounmpo watch. So, Shams, with the trade deadline about 24 hours away now, what's the latest on Giannis?
Hannah, Bucks general manager John Horst, ownership, they're continuing to sift through the offers that have come in on Giannis, the aggressive offers. But on the eve of the NBA's trade deadline on Thursday, one thing that has been made abundantly clear to the Milwaukee Bucks is Giannis is ready to move on, whether it's at the deadline now or in the offseason. So the Bucks and John Horst, their general manager, there's a decision to be made now over the next 24 hours. The risk-reward of, are you going to be able to find a deal that matches the threshold, or do you potentially risk taking this into the off-season where Giannis will be on an expiring contract? He's going to have the ability to have the sway and the dictation of where he could end up. And if he potentially says, I want to go here, or I only want to play here or here, that does have an ability to box in and shrink his market. Right now, it's an open market for the Bucks to negotiate in. So we'll see between now and Thursday. Will the Bucks decide to move on from Giannis, or will they allow this to go into the offseason, which in the second half of the year will make for potentially an untenable environment, because the Bucks might be playing to keep a high draft pick, but Giannis, right, my understanding is he wants to play the second half of this season. So that's a conflict of what both of these sides might want.
That is a very, very fine line to walk. And then, of course, whatever deal comes to the table, ownership has to sign off on that. So it's very complicated. A lot needs to happen. We'll see if it does within the next 24 hours. And if it does, you'll be all over it. ESPN's trade deadline special is tomorrow, starting at 1 Eastern. It's 4 hours long. I have a feeling you might need all of that, Shams. Thank you. Maddie?
Yeah, good stuff out of Shams.
Barry with you. Our breaking news just moments ago, Cham Sharani reporting that the Mavericks are trading 10-time All-Star Anthony Davis to the Wizards in an 8-player deal. Washington gets 2 first-round picks and 3 second-rounders in the deal. AD, of course, was the centerpiece of that blockbuster that sent Luka Doncic to the Lakers almost a year ago to the day. That happened on February 2nd. Today is February.
Trading Anthony Davis to the Wizards, according to ESPN. So he lasted 1 year and 2 days in Dallas after the trade that sent Luka to L.A. That deal also sending Jaden Hardy, D'Angelo Russell, and Dante Exum to D.C. in return. Dallas getting Chris Middleton, A.J. Johnson, Malachi Branham, Marvin Bagley, and a bunch of picks. A couple first-rounders, 3 second-rounders. But the big news here is Anthony Davis heading to D.C., where he would, in theory, team up with Trae Young. But Young hasn't played yet since his trade to the Wizards. And Anthony Davis has only played 20 games this season. So, I mean, it's just, as we bring you in with Ashton Nicole-Moss and Brad Botkin, it's the juxtaposition here. We are 1 year and 2 days removed from this guy being involved in the Luka trade, and now he's off to the Wizards.
Being the guy in the Luka trade. He was traded basically 1-for-1 for Luka Doncic, and now he ends up with this package. It's a sad package for the Mavericks. They get the money back to make it work, and those picks, I hate to inform Mavericks fans, they look good on paper, 2 first-round picks. What they are in reality is a Thunder first-round pick that could end up being 30th. It's the worst possible first-round pick you could have because they're the best team. And that Warriors pick is top 20 protected. So if it doesn't fall outside the top 20, that thing conveys to a second-rounder. So in reality,
it's like 5 second-round picks, basically.
That's actually, in reality, that's actually a second-round pick. So not much for Dallas here for Anthony Davis. But it is cool on paper for the Wizards. You know, you don't have a ton of avenues to go to kind of make an interesting team in Washington. And let's just presume for a second that they keep these guys together. We all keep talking about an Eastern Conference like that's open, and Trae Young and Anthony Davis and Alex Sarr starting to play, and they've actually got some young pieces there. And now you put 2, they are all-star players when healthy around them. And you've got a team that can compete for a playoff
that's
spot.
the thing, when healthy. I mean, do you envision these 2 guys playing this season for them at the same time?
No, not this season.
No, they're gonna tank this season. Listen, these guys are perfect guys. Trae Young's already hurt. Anthony Davis is always hurt. They're gonna keep them out for this season. Yes, there's a big asterisk here when healthy, but you're the Wizards. I mean, beggars can't be choosers. So in a perfect scenario, these guys end up healthy next year. It's about as good as you could retool this roster for giving nothing away.
I mean, but I don't know if I would give them even that much credit, because you have to think about what the East will look like next season. Tyrese Halliburton comes back. I'm sure that the Pacers are going to figure out a way to make sure the team's drastically better for his return. Jason Tatum's going to return to the Boston Celtics. If he doesn't return this season, you know, he'll have a full season with the Celtics, just traded for their big man. They may make additional moves. There's conversations about them looking at some of the guards that they have in Chicago. So the East is going to look different. The teams that are kind of part of the reason why it's as wide open are going to be very much in the mix. I don't believe that the Wizards are going to be in play for a playoff spot, maybe a play-in scenario. Maybe that's a possibility. But I think the bigger thing here that we really have to just like sit back and just observe, or just, you know, just kind of marinate in, is the fact that this is a team that had Luka and was a couple of pieces away of going to the NBA Finals, at least getting back to the conference finals. And Nico Harrison, who's no longer within the organization, decided to essentially blow this thing up from the inside, got the approval of several people around him. So I'm not going to put all the blame on Nico. I know that's a popular thing to do. Nico Harrison made the call, but Nico Harrison has to get permission to make the call.
Yeah,
let's be very, very clear about this.
It's true.
Everybody thought that the grass was going to be greener on the other side, that Luka was this, he was undisciplined, he was overweight, he was this, he was that, did the whole smear campaign, despite the fact that they were only a few pieces away of really being a true threat once again in the Western Conference, and just completely allowed that to go under the radar and essentially start from scratch. Nico would tell anybody who would listen, the team is better. Defensively, we're better. We're going to win a championship with this team. This is the team we needed. Bro, the team you needed doesn't exist now. And this is not a knock to Cooper Flag, because I think he is phenomenal.
No, they
and
lucked
I think
out
he's
with
going.
that.
They lucked out with
They
Cooper.
lucked out with that.
But you're not closer to a championship with Cooper than you were with Luka.
Yeah,
let's be very clear.
What you're seeing here is closer to what Anthony Davis's actual value is, not Nico's value. I mean, look, when he's not going to the Mavericks, this is roughly what he's worth. You know, he's an older player. He's always injured.
He's an injury-prone
But
player.
again, you have to make compensations when you're a team like the Wizards. And I'm not suggesting they're going to be in play for any sort of contention in the Eastern Conference, but in terms of leaping, you go from like a 200 hitter to a 260 hitter. You're not winning the batting title, but you're a seller team right now, and you come up to be a league average team. Big leap for a team that didn't have a lot of other avenues. I think for the Wizards, this is about Trae Young. I mean, think about the names involved, and still very talented. You're the Wizards, and with nothing. Trae Young was a cap dump, and this is nothing. They traded nothing. Those first-round picks are on paper. They're worth. So you're the Wizards, and you end up with Trae Young and Anthony Davis for nothing.
So you're happy if you're a Wizards fan?
There's no question. I'm not saying there's a bunch of asterisks. Are they going to be?
There's at least potential, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, come
because
on,
even if you look, I don't know if we had the standings on standby for this, but even if you look at the current standings in the Eastern Conference, right? And again, you have to remember there are going to be certain players who are now back in the mix. You have the Pistons sitting at number 1. You have the Knicks, the Celtics, which again, the Celtics have been
they're not going to be up with those teams.
No, I know, but I'm getting past that, right? So you have the Raptors, who have taken us by surprise. We actually had this conversation. You would assume that even going into looking into next season, there's a possibility the Raptors would be better than they are this season. They'll still be in the conversation. The Cavs just got James Harden. We don't know how that's going to look, but you're probably looking at a playoff team there. That last playoff spot can teeter from anywhere from the 76ers to the Magic or the Pacers. Remember, they don't have Tyrese Halliburton. They're all the way at the bottom of the standings. That's not going to be the case next season. The Wizards would be lucky, even in an Eastern Conference, to be in the 10th seed.
No, they would, but from where the Wizards are right now to even, it's sort of like Portland trading for Drew Holiday. Like, they're going to battle for the 10 seed, but it is a leap up from where they were in the cellar.
It's like maybe a couple spots up. Yeah, right now they're 14th. Maybe, next season we're talking about them and they're sitting in that 10th spot, but they didn't, change their fate or anything, if you think that.
Let's grade the trade. Brad,
I think it's an A.
You like the Wizards' side of this. You would give the Wizards an A for this?
They didn't give up anything. Those picks, they got, listen, I'm not suggesting that this is going to make them a contender, but Anthony Davis is still one of the best defensive players in the league. I know there's an if healthy asterisk, but again, beggars can't be choosers. And Trae Young is an all-star. So for nothing. You're the Wizards. There's no way this is anything but an A.
Yeah, I have to agree. Just from that standpoint, is you got two players who, when healthy, are top players in the league. Now, what that looks like in reality versus on paper, only time will tell.
That's right.
But if we're just looking at this on paper, everything Brad said is factual. You can get 2 All-Stars for virtually nothing. Yeah. I'll take that.
Exactly.
Okay,
that Warriors pick
graded
isn't
from
going to convey.
The Mavericks
it's terrible because Ashley, you have to factor in the full context of this. This is the guy you gave up Luka for. It's an absolute F.
And everybody got mad at me when I said that when I even considered trading away Anthony Davis, I was like, what do we do that? We got Luka. Ultimately, this is exactly what they ended up doing. I always knew that this was not going to be a fit, for the simple fact is, to Brad's point, talented as Anthony Davis is when healthy, the when healthy is everything. Your reliability or your availability is your best asset, and he does not have that enough. There have been spurts in his career where he's had healthier seasons, relatively speaking, when you talk about Anthony Davis, but not enough to solely impact a team in the way that the Dallas Mavericks bet the house on him to do it. You got Cooper Flagg. That was a flash in a pan. That was a gift from the basketball gods. Anthony Davis was not going to save you. And that's why the trade never made sense. And that's why it doesn't make sense a year later. Yeah. This is really sad if you're the Dallas Mavericks.
This is a lesson in all of life. Forget sports. If you got a bad hand, fold it. Like, they waited too long, and it was pretty evident pretty early on that this wasn't going. He wasn't going to be healthy. It wasn't going to